I bet you didn't know how many myths about sex are still floating around. And let's be real for a second. We live in a world saturated with misinformation, and sadly, sex education often takes the biggest hit. There are so many myths about sex that people still believe. And today, we're busting 5 of the biggest ones. We're talking about those whispers in the locker room, those things your friends swore were true, and those ideas that just seem to linger in society's collective consciousness. These myths can be harmful, leading to anxiety, shame, and even risky behavior. So buckle up, because we're diving deep into the world of sex-positive education. And trust me, you need this information. Stick around because the last one might shock you. Okay, let's address the elephant in the room, or should I say, the sperm in the fallopian tube. The myth that you can't get pregnant the first time you have sex, or if you do it standing up, is just plain false. The truth is, pregnancy can happen anytime sperm meets an egg, regardless of your experience level or the laws of gravity. Sperm are incredibly resourceful, and they don't discriminate based on your sexual resume or your choice of position. It only takes one sperm to fertilize an egg, and believing otherwise can have serious consequences. So please, let's debunk this myth once and for all. Protect yourself, have open conversations about consent and contraception, and remember, knowledge is power when it comes to sexual health. We live in a society obsessed with size, but when it comes to pleasure, bigger is not always better. This myth is so pervasive it's practically a cultural norm, but the reality is far more nuanced. Pleasure is about so much more than just size. It's about connection, intimacy, communication, and understanding your own body and that of your partner. It's about the way a touch can send shivers down your spine, or a whisper can ignite a fire within you. Reducing sex to a purely physical act focused solely on size misses the point entirely. It's time to shift the conversation from size to sensation, from pressure to pleasure, and from insecurity to empowerment. Remember, true satisfaction comes from a holistic experience that engages all of your senses and emotions, not just one specific physical attribute. This myth is not only untrue, but it's deeply ingrained in a patriarchal framework that seeks to silence and shame women's pleasure. The truth is, women are just as capable of experiencing sexual pleasure as men. The difference lies in how we talk about it, or rather, how we don't. Societal expectations, cultural norms, and yes, even some misguided sex education have created this false narrative that men are somehow wired for pleasure, while women are passive recipients. This couldn't be further from the truth. Women's bodies are incredible, complex landscapes of desire, and when we create safe spaces for open communication, exploration, and mutual respect, the potential for pleasure is limitless. It's time to dismantle this harmful myth and celebrate the full spectrum of female sexuality. This myth is not only outdated but also medically inaccurate. The hymen, a thin membrane that may partially cover the vaginal opening, has long been falsely associated with virginity. However, the hymen can stretch or tear for various reasons, including physical activity, tampon use, or simply natural variations in anatomy. It is not a reliable indicator of sexual history. Virginity itself is a social construct, not a biological state. It's a concept that carries different meanings for different people and cultures. Reducing someone's worth or value to their perceived sexual experience is not only disrespectful, but also perpetuates harmful stereotypes. Let's move beyond these outdated notions and embrace a more inclusive understanding of sexuality. If you've ever felt like your sex life doesn't measure up to what you see in movies or hear from friends, let me assure you, you are not alone. This myth of a singular, universally satisfying sexual experience is a recipe for disappointment and insecurity. Real-life intimacy is messy, awkward, hilarious, and beautiful, all at the same time. It's about communication, vulnerability, and discovering what feels good for you and your partners, not following a script. There is no one-size-fits-all approach to pleasure, and what works for one person may not work for another. Embrace the diversity of human desire, and remember, communication is key. Talk to your partners, explore your bodies, and don't be afraid to experiment and find what brings you joy. So there you have it, 5 common myths about sex debunked. It's time to ditch the misinformation and embrace accurate, shame-free sex education. Sex education is about facts, not fear. Understanding your body, respecting yourself and your partners, and having open conversations about consent and pleasure are crucial for a healthy and fulfilling sex life. If you learned something new today, hit that like button and subscribe for more myth-busting videos. Let's keep the conversation going in the comments below. What other sex myths have you heard?